In this James the Bike Guy video, we're checking out a trail bike from Specialized, a bike they updated only 1 year ago, and it's really held up as being one of the most fun ways to play around on 130 millimeters of frame travel. That's right, we're checking out the 2022 Specialized Stumpjumper, and the one in front of us is the more affordable one in the range, the Comp model. So we're gonna go into some of the features and designs of this carbon fiber Stumpjumper Comp, talk about the new frame, the new geometry, and the new suspension platform, and finally, we'll find out exactly what it weighs. So if this kind of thing is interesting to you, I suggest you stick around and let's check out this bike together. The Specialized Stumpjumper series has been a very popular trail bike for a long time, starting off in life as a hardtail, fully rigid, and throughout time it's grown and grown to be a highly capable trail bike. And for 2021, they totally updated the platform, adding an Evo model just above with extra travel and more all-mountain intentions. And then they updated the frame set of this one as well to have a much more active pedaling platform, a bit snappier handling, and some longer, lower, and more modern geometry to go along with it. And the version we're checking out here is the Comp Carbon model. So for 2021 and then carried into 2022, Specialized makes their Stumpjumper in alloy versions as well as carbon fiber versions. And this one being the carbon fiber version and Comp model means it's the least expensive in the range once you're looking at carbon. Now, when we talk about carbon, the whole main frame, of course, is carbon, and so is the rear end. But before we get totally into the specs there, the back end is the big change for 2021 and 22. So this being the 22 model, you'll notice there's no pivot back here. So Specialized used to do something called a Horst link, or their FSR style suspension. It had been on their Stumpjumpers for years and years and offered a good disconnect between the pedals and the suspension performance, really making it super active through rocky and chunky terrain. And they've kept that on the aluminum versions, but with carbon, they took the technology of being able to get carbon to flex and essentially eliminated that pivot that goes just before the rear axle and allows for a little flex in the stay just above. And essentially what that's done is that's made this a modified single pivot design where when you pedal, there's going to be good anti-squat characteristics, still allowing for very limited anti-rise, meaning the brakes aren't really going to affect the pedaling platform. And then it's going to be progressive as it goes through to this sidearm shock through the linkage here to make it a really active feeling. And that's where the carbon fiber versions are going to shine over the aluminum, is not only are you saving some weight, but you're getting some additional pedaling efficiency out of this new suspension design. Now, having owned the 2021 version of the carbon fiber frame of this Stumpjumper, it's really impressive just how effective that rear suspension is in being really lively and playful, but also being able to soak up things. It helped you do stuff that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise on another bike. And the other thing they changed is they really changed up the geometry to add a whole heck of a lot more reach, slacken out the front end, and steepen that seat tube angle so that you've got a nice roomy front center that's also going to be poppy and playful. And as far as geometry is concerned, there's going to be two positions that you can adjust on the yoke of the shock, a high and a low position. And that's going to net out with a head tube angle of 65.5 in high and 65 in low. A seat tube angle effective at 76.5 in high and 76 low, a chainstay length of only 432, and a bottom bracket height of 335 in large and 328. And those numbers really make for this to be a super active and very playful bike on the trail, and does a good range of, just more than cross-country trail performance to even edging on being able to take it to a DH park if you wanted to ride smooth and kind of blast down and have a great day. The suspension components on the bike rock 140 millimeters of front suspension via this Fox Rhythm 34. So the Rhythm 34 is the less expensive version of the 34, using a few materials to help keep some of the cost down, but you get the classic 34 millimeter stanchions, and you do still get the Fit Grip damper. So the Fit Grip damper has a huge range of adjustment from open to firm. Going down on that Fit Grip damper, you're also going to have your adjustment for rebounds. This is going to be a Boost 15 by 110 fork, And then on the non-drive side, there is a spot underneath this cap so you can adjust the fork to your weight and your riding style, as well as you can add air tokens to the air chamber to be able to dial in effectively the progressiveness of that front suspension. Now on the back, going along with the new suspension platform, is going to be a sidearm shock. And by sidearm, what I'm talking about is the frame's only coming down on one side, but the other side is totally open and free. And this rear end, having 130 millimeters of travel, runs Float DPS shock. This is a 3-piston adjustable shock, of course in that nice black coating. And then the neat thing with this, it is a standard metric size, so you're able to swap it out. It's a 190 by 45 millimeter. And of course on that yoke, you can see the high and low position that you can adjust to dial in the geometry of the bike. Moving into the cockpit of the bike, we're talking some aluminum componentry here. You can see it's got a nice wide alloy handlebar. This is a specialized handlebar made out of 6061 aluminum. It does have a 35 millimeter bar clamp, and then it's going to rock a 30 millimeter rise and an 800 bar width. So super wide, going to a stubby trail alloy stem from Specialized. Moving out back to the body geometry bridge saddle. Nice comfortable mountain bike saddle mounted on top an X-Fusion Manic seat post. This seat post, of course, is a dropper post, so it's got a nice range to it. And depending on the frame size, it's going to come in one of 4 drop links to be able to properly match the drop of the saddle with the frame. Now, a dropper post has a lever on the handlebar that effectively you press down, and that's going to raise the saddle up with your weight off of it, or with your body weight, it'll squat back down. And you can see the frame is purposely built out where it's got a nice curve to make sure that the dropper post can get low and you can get the longest drop that's possible. The last thing with the cockpit we should talk about is going to be mounted into the frame. And that, of course, is your SWAT box. So these bikes come stock with a multi-tool mounted up on the bottom of the water bottle cage, which is pretty sweet. But if you open this up, you'll notice this can come out, and then you've got internal frame storage. So in here, you've got lots of space above and below inside of the frame that you're going to be able to mount stuff, slide things into the frame, have all the storage you need, and it gets covered up just by putting the water bottle cage right back onto the bike, clicking it back into place. And the beauty with having that frame storage mounted down there is it keeps it off of your body. It also keeps the weight super nice and low and internal into the bike to help with handling while you're carrying heavy things like tubes and tools for emergencies on the trail. The drivetrain of the comp level bike is well spec'd with a 1x12 drivetrain from Shimano SLX. So that means you've got 1 gear up front, and then you've got 12 speeds in the back through this super wide range rear cassette. And the magic with this system is this is going to have 510% gear range. So about the same that you would have gotten out of a 2x10, all done in 1 gear in the back to help keep things much more reliable. Now the SLX rear derailleur does have a clutch to it, which the clutch mechanism you can turn on and off. So with it off, you can see the cage moves around. This is going to make it really easy to take the wheel off. But if you turn that lock mechanism or the clutch back on, it's going to tighten up the chain so it's not going to bounce around nearly as much. Even if it does, you've got a nice rubberized coating on the top of the chainstay. Now that is a 10 to 51 tooth cassette mounted on a micro spline free hub body, and up front is a SLX crankset going through a threaded bottom bracket with a 30 tooth narrow wide chainring. Slowing the bike down is also courtesy of Shimano SLX. These are a nice feeling mineral oil hydraulic disc brake running a 4-piston caliper both on the front and the rear. Connecting the frame to the ground and keeping the bike going is of course going to be its wheel and tire combination. And we'll start off with these tires. So this is the Butcher Grid T9. So the T9 is their grippy compound. The Butcher Grid is going to be a durable case but hugely aggressive knob front end tire. That's going to help with turning and stopping performance. And it's mounted up on some Roval 29 rims. These are hookless alloy 30 millimeter wide rim. And what I really like is they're laced up 28 hole to Shimano hub. So it's the MT400B hub up front. And in back is a Shimano MT510B hub. Of course, that's boost as well with a 12 by 148 width and a micro spline free hub body for that rear cassette. and then they're running the Purgatory Grid T7 tire. So the Purgatory is not quite as aggressive for a rear tire, but it does have nice paddles to keep grip, and the T7 tread compound is going to be just a touch more durable and long lasting, being not quite as sticky as the front end tread pattern. The actual weight of the Stumpjumper Comp Carbon in a size S5 is going to come in and weigh 30.72 pounds. Thanks for watching this video on the 2022 Specialized Stumpjumper Comp Carbon. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. While you're at it, be sure to hit that subscribe button and browse the channel to see more videos like this to check out as well.